Good morning everyone. Today in this video tutorial we are going to discuss about the C++ functions. So C++ functions, it can be defined as a set of program statements that can be processed independently. So a functions are nothing but a set of statements that will do a particular task, and these functions, they can be used many times. Like in other languages, the functions are otherwise called as subroutines or procedures. So as we already know, every C++ program execution starts from the main function, and the C++ functions can be categorized into two types. One is the library functions, or otherwise called as the predefined functions, and another one are the user defined functions that are created by the users ourselves. So when we see the advantages of the functions, why we are going for these functions means mainly the functions will eliminate the redundancy. The code that are redundant will be eliminated with the help of the functions, and when the program is a very large program, the functions helps in the easier debugging. The functions can be debugged very easily. So next one is the reduction in the size of the code. Since the functions are of, we are dividing the larger programs into blocks of smaller sizes, the code is reduced in size. And since the functions are written and reduced in size, and the functions can be reused again and again, and it is helpful in the achievement of the procedure abstraction. So when we talk about a function, there are 5 different parts of the function. One is the function prototype declaration, that is used to declare the function, and the second one is the function definition, where the original work of the function will be defined, and the third one is after defining the function, this function will be called by some other functions, and third one is the calling the function. And when we call the function, and the function, the control will be transferred to the function definition, and here comes the parameters, that is the values that are passed between the functions, and there are two types of parameters, actual and formal parameters. And after the function is called, the function will do some work and it will return some result through the return statement. So the first part of the function is the function prototype declaration. So like variables, a function should also be declared before using it. So the declaration of the function, it tells the compiler about the name of the function, what data type it will be returning, and what are the number of parameters and the type of the parameters that function will be using. Everything will be declared using the function prototype declaration statement. So the general form of the C++ function, that is if you see the syntax of a C++ function, it will have the return type, data type, followed by a function name with a set of parameter list. So next part is the function definition. Once the function is declared and the compiler knows about what is the function name and what are the parameters the function is using, this function should be elaborated, this function should be defined somewhere else, so that the particular task what that function is doing will be defined in the function definition. So the function definition, it is the actual body of the function. The function definition, it consists of mainly two parts. One is the function header and the function body. The function header is nothing but the first line of the function, that is it will be as same as the function prototype declaration, and it also contains the return data type, the function name, and the parameter list. And another main thing is, if the function is defined before its caller, that is before the calling function, then its prototype declaration is optional. That is, it is not necessary to declare a function when once it is defined before the main function or any of the calling function. So this is the general form of a C++ function. So this is the sample function definition. Here you could see, here we are having a return type, a function name, add int is the function name, and the int a and int b are the parameters, are the values that are passed into the add int function. And this add int function, it will use the two variables a and b, and it will do some calculations. And here you could see a return statement, return a plus b. The values that are coming through and a will be added and it will be written from this function. So since this a and b are the integer data types, the return type here is also mentioned as the integer data type. So next, once we have declared the function and tell the compiler that what we are going to do and what is the name of the function, what is the return data type of the function, and the function is defined, that is we are doing the body of the function, we are writing the body of the function using the function definition. So declared and definition is over, and we are not going to stop here. Once the function is declared, the function will come into use when another function calls this function and utilize this function. So to use a function, it should be called or invoked. So a function, it will be called by its name followed by the parameter list enclosed in the parenthesis and terminated by a semicolon. When a program calls a function, program control is transferred to the called function, and the called function will execute and it will return the result through the return statement to the calling function. So here comes, after knowing about the function calling, prototype declaration and function definition, we could see the two types of parameters here in all these things. One is the actual parameter and formal parameters. So actual parameters are nothing but that the parameters that are used in the caller functions and that are used in the function call are called as the actual parameters. That is, these are the parameters that will be used in the calling function where the user will give the input, and the formal parameters are nothing but where it is used in the function definition or in the function header of the definitions. So normally the actual parameter values will be passed to the formal parameters where the calculations will be done in the function definition, and the function will return a value through the return statement. So when coming to the last part of the function, it is the return statement, and the return statement, it is used to return value to the caller function. Once we are calling the function, or once a main or another function is calling this function will do some calculations and it will return some value through the return statement. When a return statement is executed, the function is terminated immediately at that point and the control will be transferred to the calling function. By default, the return type of the main is int, as you already know. So the syntax of the return statement is return variable name. Sum of a comma b. So here you could see this a and b are all called as the actual parameters. That is, in the calling function, these two parameters are called as the actual parameters. So once the function name followed by the parameter list and a semicolon is executed, then automatically the control will be transferred to the function. So the control will come here and the value of a will be substituted to x and b will be substituted y. So inside this we have declared a local variable z and we have added x plus y, that is 10 plus 20, and the value is stored in the variable z. And the next statement is the return statement where the z value, that is the 30, it will be returned again back to the calling function and it will be assigned to the variable c. And in the next statement we are just printing or displaying the sum is c and we are closing the program. So here you could see the function prototype declaration, the actual parameters a and b, and the formal parameters x and y in the function definitions, and this is the function header, that is the first line of the function, and the remaining statements that are within the curly braces are called as the body of the functions, and this is the return statement, and this x and y are the formal parameters and this actual parameters are substituted to the formal parameters. So when we see a program